I didn't leave my hometown because I wanted to. I left my hometown out of my circumstances at home. But when you're a single mom and you are sad and heartbroken and exhausted, opening up a business is a big, big endeavor. It's birthing. It's like having another child. I didn't buy a franchise. I decided to create the identity of a new company, which I have a clue what I was doing, but I knew what felt right in my heart. And that's what I went with, because I had to be there for my daughters. I had nobody else to help me. And I had to move myself forward. I had to figure out a way to open doors, even though, things change in life, you move forward.
Susana, you run one of the top boutique brokerages in South Shore, Massachusetts, where in a time where everybody wants to have a team, and it's easier, quote unquote, to have a team than run a boutique brokerage. And on top of that, you provide a full service to your agent, which you don't have to as a brokerage, and you broke into a luxury market against all of the big names, and being someone who came to America at 18, not speaking English, and starting your own brokerage at 2013. I was just curious because the word ALANTE that I found, actually, it means to move forward. And you equate it to being welcoming. I also equate it to you being someone who looks forward, always innovating, always moving forward. And something interesting is that people often say that the context of our earlier time in our lives shape who we are today. So I was just curious, where did that drive and that ambition that you have and to always be innovating, where did that come from?
Wow. And this is the first question you're asking me. I feel like there is a lot to unpack here with this question. In regards to the sentiment behind the name of my company, ALANTE. So the dictionary definition is, yes, to move forward, right? When someone knocks on a door or someone gets in your car and you want to tell them to move forward, you say adelante or adelante in Spanish. And that's, sort of why we chose it. But there was a meaning behind that name that meant a lot to me. And it's more of that positivity behind the word. Obviously, if you're moving forward, you're not moving backwards. So that's in itself positive. I grew up in northern Spain, and I had to leave my country and I had to leave my family at age 18. I didn't come straight at 18 to the United States. I actually lived in Ireland first, and then I went to college in London and lived throughout Europe before I made it to America. But I didn't leave my hometown because I wanted to. I left my hometown out of my circumstances at home were pretty dire for a young girl. And there was a less than desirable family upbringing. And I had to move myself forward. I had to figure out a way to open doors for myself. And one way that I thought would be easiest was to start learning another language, right? For me, it was like, okay, if I need to sort of escape and open doors for myself, let's start by adding more countries where I can live other than just the countries that speak my main language. And that's why I moved to Ireland and then London, because I thought if I can speak English, then ultimately I can go many other places. And that was just from earlier on. I guess I'm sort of that individual that if something is not working, I don't like to dwell on it for too long. I mean, I'm not saying I don't dwell on things. I do, like everybody else, but I just don't do it for that long. I tend to want to find a solution, and that goes for anything in my life. So I like the meaning of Alante because in this industry of real estate, which I love so much, there is not a transaction, there is not a client, there is not a day where there is not a problem. And our job is to move those problems forward so that ultimately we can complete the job we were hired to do. And I believe that's really where the money is that we get paid. It's not really to sell the home. That's a given, right?
Yeah.
We get hired to sell the home, sell your home. But it's how effective can you do your job with eliminating as many problems along the way and moving everything forward so things don't fall apart.
So that's kind of where it came from, because I found something interesting that you actually had a post where you said that out of necessity. It's like you left the country out of necessity. You started Alante out of necessity. It's like you had this constant drive, and we all go through different experiences in our life that kind of shape who we become. So I was curious, you said you needed to show yourself that you were born with this much passion and heart for a reason, and you also wanted to show your two daughters that women can achieve anything they want regardless of ethnicity and familiar status. Why is that important to you?
Because I come from a country that is very far behind where we are in regards to women from the United States. And in particular, and I don't want to generalize the entire country because that's not fair to the country of Spain, just like it's not fair to generalize the entire country of America, right?
Yeah.
But my household specifically, I grew up with a father that was very chauvinistic. He was a policeman, a lot of alcoholism. I was the only daughter. The rest were brothers, and there was no rights. I mean, my mom couldn't wear makeup or drive or work. You know what? In 2023, you hear those things now, and you're thinking, is this Spain or is this, a different country? But that's how I grew up, and don't ask me how I knew that that wasn't for me, because that was the only example that I had, right? So one would think that I was raised that way and I was destined to follow the footsteps of my mother. But I wanted to put eyeliner in my eye, and it was the 80s. I wanted the big hoops, which I still wear, and I wanted to be me, and I wanted to do what made me happy, and that didn't seem to jive very well at home. I decided to, again, seek the opportunities that allowed me to put myself in a position where I had greater opportunities. And then when I came here and got married and had two beautiful daughters, I had a fantastic marriage for almost a decade. And that at that time I was in real estate, but I was working for a franchise company. I was working for Remax, and then the marriage ended, and I was now a single mom with two daughters, with my entire family in a different country. So I didn't have a mom or a grandmother or an aunt or cousins or anyone to lend me a hand while I worked in a commission-based job, right? I needed to make more money, and I also needed to be more effective about my daily activities, because I had to be there for my daughters. I had nobody else to help me. So for me, opening up the brokerage was gosh, I look back now, we're about to celebrate our 10th year anniversary in April, and I look back now, and I used to think that I opened the brokerage for one or two reasons, and now I look back and I opened the brokerage for so many other reasons that I didn't realize at that time, that I now know. But when you're a single mom and you are sad and heartbroken and exhausted, opening up a business is a big, big endeavor. It's birthing. It's like having another child, right? Especially when it's a boutique real estate company. Like, I didn't buy a franchise. I decided to create the identity of a new company, which I have a clue what I was doing, but I knew what felt right in my heart. And that's what I went with. And along the way, I had wonderful people that became mentors and coaches that thankfully were my guardian angels and guided me in the right direction. But yes, I loved that I pushed through because I felt that it was a great example for my daughters, to tell them that, listen, I am not from this country and I don't have, English is not my main language, and I am a woman and I am a minority. But we live in a country that all of that doesn't matter, thankfully. Because if I was still in my own country, this would not have been possible for me. And I wanted to show them that even though, things change in life, you move forward. You move forward and you figure it out and you make it happen. And so long as it's something you're passionate about, it will work out. And thankfully for us, it did.
Yeah, your story is one of kind of like against all odds. You're backed into a corner, you find a way, and you problem solve. And it seems like that and the lessons that you kind of learned earlier, because when you started in real estate, you said that you would travel across the country, even though you were in Plymouth, and you would go learn from the top agents, and you would come back and you would share everything that you learned.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I like to, I'm very inquisitive, and I also really like self-development. I always have. I like to know things at a deeper level. I like to understand things. And somehow I always felt that companies in my industry in the West Coast were a little bit more advanced than we were here in the East Coast. So while people were networking regionally or locally here in the South Shore of Massachusetts, and I'm not saying that I didn't do that, but I put more of my efforts into networking outside of the state of Massachusetts, because I felt that they were being a little bit more innovative. When I got in the industry, we were signing everything still on paper, right? And I could see brokers in Hawaii and in Texas and in Seattle and in California already using Dotloop and DocuSign, which at that time was Cartavi. And I will come back and I'll fly there and I'll immerse myself in those offices and I'll ask them to teach me everything, and then I'll come back, and at that time I will go to the brokerage I was working for and I will basically run the meetings, and I will say, guys, I just learned how we're going to be paperless, and we're going to use this really great software called Evernote, and this is how you use it. You use Evernote and we use Dotloop, and this is the process, and I'm going to train you, and we're going to be the first company that goes paperless here in the South Shore of Massachusetts. And I've always been that person, and I love it. I truly, truly love it. I hosted a masterclass last night in my company, teaching how to bring your inbox to zero every day, zero inbox. And every agent that came works for other companies. There was no one from my own company at the class. And when they left, one of them said, why do you do this? And I said, I've already taught all of this to my team, and it's helping my team. I have no one else to teach it to, and I like it. I was very tired. I'm still very tired today. It was a long day. but my heart felt right. My heart felt that I gave something that hopefully helps them move forward in their careers, and that makes me happy.
There's a lot there. Like, one, I love Evernote, but now using Notion. But it's kind of, you follow Jimmy a lot. Jimmy talks about all the time some of the best inspirations is outside of our own bubble, which in that case was your market. And something that's interesting, do you think there's a coincidence between earlier in life your desire to go learn, come back, teach, kind of be that like figure that's helping everyone else out, and then you building a brokerage that you don't have to be full service, but you're essentially full service. You do way more than most boutique brokerages would.
I'll tell you what, a long time ago, I read the book, the Starbucks book, The History of Starbucks. And I told myself, I love the idea that you can buy a coffee in Boston and you can buy a coffee in Madrid, Spain. And it's going to taste exactly the same way. You're probably going to still pay a lot of money in both countries, but you're going to go to Starbucks because you know what you're getting. It doesn't change, right? I didn't feel that existed in real estate, because it doesn't matter if your umbrella is a major franchise or a boutique company. At that time, agents were doing their own thing. So you could have 100 agents at one company, and even though the name could be Remax or Century 21 or Sotheby's, the service, the marketing, the processes that you were getting was going to be completely different if you called George or if you called Mary from the same company. So I told myself, what if we're the first company that it doesn't matter who you call? The process of hiring us and selling us and the outcome is the same, because I control the back end. And that's sort of how it started. It was more of a quality assurance, drive for service. It came from that. And then when we created, the back end on operations and the back end on marketing, and I realized this is actually truly helping the sales team, because now we are eliminating pretty much everything that a real estate agent should not be doing, that they don't know how to do, and we're offering it to them. Is a win-win for both. It's a win-win for the sales team, but it's a win-win for the consumer ultimately.
Yep.
Which is who I care for the most. So I think that's why I offer so much. And I don't think I could change it, to be honest. I know I could drive a more profitable business if I didn't, probably, but I believe that everything that I'm giving is what I would want someone to give to me if I was a sales agent. And if I was selling my home, I would want to know that there is a strict process on generating a marketing campaign and following, from contract to close, so that I can have that peace of mind. And to me, I've created that at this company, and that's something that we're really, really proud of.
The big thing with that is, like, Starbucks sells coffee. You sell a service with people who are not employees. So I imagine that's very difficult to kind of control the level to the same degree. So I was curious, what are some things that you do to help operationalize it, systemize it, and make the experience the same for every agent?
Yeah, great question. And it was really hard to start it. Now we have the process down 10 years later. But it all came down to templates, basically. So we figured out there was a software out there called Basecamp. It's mostly used by engineers, so you have to have that sort of brain, right, to build it. But it's also very digitally pleasing, so it looks like Pinterest boards. So sales agents don't feel overwhelmed because it's pretty to use, right? And what we did is we built templates for every scenario. So if you are a listing agent and you get hired to sell a property, we build an entire template. I think the listing template has 183 tasks in it. So from the day they sign a listing agreement to the day we close, there's 183 things that need to be done. Now, those 183 things, they don't have to be done all by the sales agent. I know in other companies, that's how it gets done. Or maybe they outsource some of them to a VA or a TC, right? But for us, it's a collaboration between operations, marketing, content creator, videographer, and then the client, and then the sales agent. So on that project, we bring everyone in. So that's why our clients know what they're getting, because they get to see the entire project. There is no questions. They get to see what's being done to market their homes, to sell their homes every single day. And then out of those 183 tasks, every single one of them, we've built the task to have video tutorials, email breakdowns to the clients or to the agents on how to perform it. So how do you make sure that agents that are not employees and they like to come and go and work at their own pace adhere to it? They have to be part of the project because they have to work with the team. They can't let that team down. Their own client is watching their activity. And everything gets tasked to them on the day that they're supposed to do it. So all they do is they wake up in the morning, they look at their phone, they see whatever tasks for whatever transactions they have going on need to be performed on that day, and they just have to do those tasks. They don't need to remember, have I ordered a water reading or the smokes inspection, or I need to draft the commission bill, or did I call the mortgage lender to get a pre-approval? Like, everything is tasked for them. And so it's a very systematic process, but it took a long time to build it. And every year, at the end of the year, we audit the process to make sure that are the 183 tasks that we're doing still relevant in 2023? Are we overkilling it? Is this helping the consumer and the agent, or are we adding more work, right? Do we need to add anything else that now is current and relevant that we were not doing in 2022 and now we need to? So it's a process, but it's now done by the operations department. Once you build the blocks, it grows, but it's there.
As someone like listening to this, I might hear, 183 tasks, that's a lot. And then you're adding videos to this, you're doing this. I'm guessing you didn't start at 183.
No, and that's what I mean. The first template that we built probably only had 35 things that we did. And then what will happen is the sign company will go out and put a sign on a property. And the homeowner will call us and say, you guys just cut the line of my irrigation. Or you guys just cut the line for the collar, the electrical collar for my dog. Moving forward, right? Solving problems. So then we will say, okay, we can never have that phone call ever again by any client. So how do we solve that? We're going to add a task to the 35 tasks. Now we have a 36. And the 36 task is a task that goes to the client and to the sign company, explaining, we are about to install your sign today with a video. We're going to leave flags in your house. If you have an electrical fence, if you have irrigation, flag it so the sign company doesn't cut it for you. And since that day, we've never had a problem ever again. It was a one-time thing. So it's been built to 183, but they are minuscule. I mean, some of them are how do we remind the client to prepare a home for a final walkthrough? How many agents go to final walkthroughs, which should be the happiest day for everybody, right? And the buyers are unhappy because the sellers have left wire hangers, hanging in the closets that they didn't want to dispose of, or the seller forgot to empty the dishwasher. They always forget things in the dishwasher. So now we added a task to the project that says how to prepare yourself for the final walkthrough. So now we go to the final walkthroughs, and we know the seller has looked in the dishwasher and there is no extra paint cans laying around or wire hangers. So it's all been, there's 183 because basically we don't miss a step now. If there was ever a problem in 10 years on a transaction, we've addressed it. So now it doesn't happen.
How do you deal with technology adoption across agents? I'm sure that's probably not easy.
Well, it starts with the hiring, and then also all the software that we're providing, the bundle that we're providing for the sales team is all technology based and it's all free to them to use. So if they don't adopt it, they don't have a CRM. If they don't adopt it, they are not using their email. If they don't adopt it, they can't sign electronically. So then how do they run their business?
Yeah.
It's almost like when you belong to a team, think of it if this was the Patriots, right? If this was the football team and everyone shows up for practice and the coach is saying you guys have to show up at 7, but you have 12 players that all come in at 6, the rest of the team is going to join because they don't want to be left behind. They all want field time. They all want to make it to the Super Bowl. So they're going to join. So when everybody is an adopter, it's easier, even if someone is struggling with technology, to catch up because they don't want to be left behind from the rest of the team.
Yeah, and it's important. If you look at planes, for example, they have a checklist for a reason. They go through that checklist, and the experience every single time is really good because they know exactly what to do. So how has the hiring process evolved for you as you've grown? Like, what have you learned, and like what mistakes have you gone throughout the hiring process?
A lot of mistakes. And for me, as a broker, that has been truly probably my weakness, and I'm still learning because I thought if I build something great, people will come. So I'm still a selling broker. I like to sell, and the reason why I like to sell, aside from I enjoy it, and after 18 years, I have a lot of past clients that I continually service and their families. I like to be one of those brokers that teaches because I have myself in the ground. So I know the market is pivoting and changing, and I know how to then train the sales team because I am myself negotiating contracts in 2023 or doing open houses in 2023, right? So it goes the same thing with recruiting. I felt that if I built this brokerage that offer great culture and technology and systems and support, then people will notice and they will come. But the mistake that I made is nobody knew about the systems and the technology and the processes and even maybe the culture because of social media a little bit. But I kept it so in-house that nobody truly knew what ALANTE does or did for the sales team. They just know that we are a top producing team, that we sell at a high volume, and that we have really good marketing campaigns. That's, I think, what other agents know us for, but they don't know how we create the marketing campaigns. They don't know what's behind creating the marketing campaigns, and they don't know how we get the sales team to outproduce all the other sales agents for the most part in our area, right? And that took me a long time to figure it out. And honestly, I have Jimmy Mackin to thank for it. Because Jimmy's a good friend and he runs a tremendous company with Curator, and we are Curator clients. Actually, Curator and ALANTE opened doors the same year.
Oh, wow.
So I've seen Curator grow. I was actually Curator's number one client, first client. Chris Smith and Jimmy can tell you this. And they've grown from where they were in 2013 to where they are today, incredibly. But in watching Jimmy, especially in the last couple of years, and watching him on social media and his email marketing, basically put it all out there, right? Like, guys, this is a great subject line. This is a great email. This is what one of our clients sent out, and they were able to convert because of it. A light bulb just went on for me, and I said, because I am a client, so I will see him putting the content out there that he's giving us, the clients, and I will be like, that's bizarre. He's giving the email campaigns to the 15,000 people that follow him on social media. And then I just realized how smart he was, because at the end of the day, how is every other realtor in the country supposed to know what Curator does if Jimmy doesn't tell them what Curator is doing?
Yeah.
So I thought to myself, okay, I got it. I got it. They will come, but I have to show them why they should come, because nobody knows what ALANTE does. So let's show them. So we're actually in the process of building a website right now that basically puts the entire business infrastructure of ALANTE online for anyone to look at it and say, okay, if I want to put together a well-rounded marketing campaign, this is how they do it. This is how they win at marketing listings. And we're going to put videos and tutorials and instructions. We're going to give the softwares that we use. We're going to put it all out there, because it's the only way that I can truly broadcast what we do.
Was that scary to you to just put it all out there and just say, "Hey, this is what we do and how we do it"?
No, I don't think so for me, because I've never been a person that hoards information or that is guarded with information at all. I'm actually the opposite. I'm the girl that if I find the designer shoes at Marshall's and they are half price, I blast it out to everyone. I put it on my social media. Hey guys, great deal. So I like to, whatever works for me, whenever I find something that works or a good deal, I like to tell other people so that they can use it. So it wasn't about not wanting to tell people, because I wanted to be keep it proprietary to ALANTE and only to the team, and be a secret and only for us and very selective. It wasn't like that. It was more, it never occurred to me that, because people that work for us and people that know us, even clients, they will tell us all the time, why are you guys not bigger? Why are no other agents working at ALANTE? And I will always say, I don't know. I just figure I'll just keep on doing what we're doing, and eventually maybe they'll figure it out. And someone says, but how are they going to figure it out? Like, how would they know what you guys actually do? And I said, I don't know. How do they know in other companies? And because I'm not the broker that cold calls and recruits people
Yeah,
neither.
I would never do that.
Or sends email. Like I don't do that. I said, okay, I get it. And then I watched Jimmy, and it was just like a light bulb. I said, okay, so this is how you do it. You just put it out there, and it's okay if 100 agents watch it and they decide to adopt Basecamp and build templates and take it and don't work for ALANTE. I'm okay with it, because I'm somehow impacting their careers, even if in the smallest way, and B, I'm raising the bar in the industry. So to me, it's a win-win. And maybe out of 100 agents or 200 agents, one of them will say, listen, I tried it. I tried to do it on my own. And frankly, it's a lot of work. And you have the infrastructure set up. So I'm going to come and join you so you can do it for me, because I really like the way you guys run things.
It's kind of goes to the quote of, like, it's easier to catch bees with honey than it is with I forget the quote and I'm butchering it right now. But
Don't ask me about English quotes at all, because the one that will butcher it would be me for sure.
but I've kind of realized that is like back when I had to get healthy out of my own necessity, I was sharing everything that I learned getting healthy, and I was like, wait, if I just do this with marketing and I just share everything that I know, I don't keep it behind closed doors, then you're able to attract the right people. So it seems like that approach that you've seen Jimmy do, you're modeling it now, and that's kind of your new thing that you're going to use to attract the right agents.
It's also to, honestly, selfishly, to fulfill myself. I have to be giving to someone, and I have a team that is already trained and they're already doing it. So I want to teach someone else. I don't have new talent at the company. So by building this website is fulfilling my need of being able to give back. I feel extremely blessed, grateful, thankful, all of the above. I mean, think of it, a young girl, literally a kid, right, 18 years old, that moved from one country to another one, not even speaking the language at 18. And I went to Ireland, and I'm like, I'll figure this out. I'll somehow figure out how to learn the language and make something of myself. So from that to this, where I came to America, and America embraced me and gave me the opportunity to open a business. Like, what? And never in a million years would have I dreamt, growing up in Spain, that I will ever be a business owner. And a business owner as a woman, and a business owner as a single woman. And a minority. Again, all of those things. I'm just very, very grateful. And 1% every day, better than 1% of giving back, right? Just give a little bit, whether it is to an agent, a client, my children watching me do it. I know they are so, so proud. And one of my daughters now graduated college. The other one is in college. And so they are young women, and hopefully seeing that kind of passion and determination and attitude will make them want to do the same for themselves and for others. And that's really it. What else do you want out of life, you know?
Yeah, I've been always trying to pinpoint personally and selfishly like where that comes from in me. I was like, why do I want to like share, and I just try to give as much as possible. I don't know if you've kind of thought through that, like where that maybe came from, or just where you just, because not everyone does. There's a small minority.
I think for me, I think I grew up kind of maybe lonely, like in a household of 5 people, but I was very much isolated and separated, feeling love from parents. My brothers were younger, so obviously they didn't count. But like, I was never hugged or kissed or told I love you or any of those things. So I think having the ability to know, maybe it's my love language, maybe that's just the way I love people back. And by giving and feeling like I'm sort of like impacting them maybe a little bit, that's how I'm receiving love back. Maybe the love that I once, I don't know, I'm not a therapist or a psychologist, but it has to come from somewhere, and I'm assuming it has something to do, right? For all of us, our upbringing has a lot to do. And for me, I think I built a family within my industry. I built a family within work. And when people call me and they say, can you help me with something? I jump on it at anyone that I can help. And that makes me feel, my heart feels warm. So it makes me feel love. Does that make sense?
No, it makes a lot of sense. I agree. And it's So you've been through a lot. Like you've put yourself through ups and downs, the mountains. Did you ever feel at some point like you just wanted to quit the brokerage? Like it's just too much, like pressure?
Yes, the answer is yes. But mostly because I'm really hard on myself. And when I feel like I'm failing people, it bothers me tremendously. So it's funny because when I did my Instagram bio, you have to put in like one line what you're all about. And I was like, well, how do I put that in one line? And in my bio, I put that I like to help other people grow their businesses. That's what I want. So whenever I struggle to have an agent adopt a system that I know we've created that works and will help them grow their business, I take it really personal. And it used to be a lot more frustrating for me. Now I've come to terms with, you can't make people, you can't want it for them more than they want it for themselves. So they can come to you and say, help me grow my real estate career, help me make $250,000 a year. And you can show them, but if they still have to do the work, right? You can put everything in place, but they still have to work. It's not like I have a roadmap and now I'm going to be rich. And when you see that you've given them all the support and they are not really doing the behind the scenes to drive the business up, and their business is not maybe growing to where you once promised them you could take them, that's really hard for a leader that wants to lead. That's the hardest part, because you want it for them more than sometimes they want it for themselves. You see the potential in people more than they have fears and insecurities. You don't have their fears and insecurities. You see their dreams, their goals, their possibilities, and you want them to see themselves the way you see them, so that they can do the work, and that's really hard.
Yeah, and it's kind of funny because your agents in your brokerage, it's kind of like your kids in a way, and like you're trying to raise them.
Yeah, it's a family. Yeah. Exactly. They're your family. Especially when you have a boutique brokerage. A boutique brokerage, their spouses, their children, their dogs, when they're going on vacation, when they're getting married, if one of them is having surgery. I mean, we're very, very close, very united. So yeah, I wish, and this is why I could never buy a franchise or run a big company, because for me, it wasn't about the numbers game. It wasn't about, it probably would have been a lot easier to pay $45,000 for a 5-year contract to Remax, right? And flag the balloon and say, oh, okay, let's do this, and have 100 agents, and you guys sell whatever you sell, it doesn't matter, and I run the brokerage. But when you run a small boutique company, everything matters. Everything, the attitude, the service, the culture, the teamwork, everything matters, and they all have to adopt it, otherwise it doesn't work.
How do you get them to quote unquote adopt it? Like, what are things that you do to kind of drive the culture that you look for, things that you do to transfer your, let's say, your mindset over to your team? What are your things that are pretty essential to you?
Well, first it starts by always calling it a team, and I use a lot of football analogies. I have no idea why, because clearly I didn't grow up in a country where American football, but I think sports analogies are somehow they relate a lot to business, and I like to use them. But for me, I always say I'm the coach and you guys are the teammates, and there's always going to be the quarterback, and there's always going to be the linebacker. There's always going to be one of you that's better than the other one at something, but together as a team, we can get to the end goal. So I am here to lead you guys to the end result, which hopefully is the playoffs and the Super Bowl. But you are all, as a team, supposed to hold each other accountable and help each other and protect each other, because I can't do it all. This has to be a team.
How do you foster that team accountability?
We have an open communication, and we foster accountability a lot. So we have our, in-house group text where every once in a while I'll drop in and say, okay, January ended 1 to 10. 10 being I nailed it and I did what I set myself out to do. Where are you guys at? And everybody has to put their number, and believe it or not, they do. They are 8s, 7s, and 5s, and they have no problem saying I didn't perform for the team, I didn't perform for myself. And then the next question is, how can we support the 5s to move the needle to the 6s and the 8s to move to the 9s as a team? And what can I do as your broker to help you get there? So the question is is not about an individual, this is where the company wants to go in 2023. And you all said what you would do so that collectively we can get there. So if you're not doing it, you're letting the team down. You're letting yourself down, but you're letting the team down. Sometimes people like to fight for a common goal more than they like to fight for themselves.
Yeah, I agree. Have you read the book Netflix Rules?
No.
Okay. You'll probably like it. It's all about culture, team. I was curious.
Okay, I'm gonna download it on Audible. I listen to them.
Yeah, I don't read books. I just listen. With Netflix Rules, the way they think of the company is like a team, like a sports team, and that's why I was curious. Do you view your team as like a roster, kind of like a sports team, and you say, okay, here's the starting lineup. If you don't keep up to a certain performance, certain level, then you're going to get cut from the team. Do you kind of think of it?
Well, they know that themselves. I don't usually. Luckily I haven't had to have that conversation because everyone in the company, for the most part, has met their goals, has hit their caps, has, gotten the team to where we wanted to be. I mean, last year, and we're a very small company, but last year we outperformed most of the competition around us in individual production, and I think we were close to 75 million in our area. That's a lot of production for a very
awesome.
Small team. So for 2023, we're shooting for 100 mil. 100 million on a company that has a dozen people working, and the average sales price is, around $500,000. That means you have to perform at a really, really high level. And obviously that includes us bringing new players into the bench right now, right? Because otherwise we won't. So my responsibility, so I don't let the team down, is find those players that can help the team get to the playoffs right now. So I am interviewing, and we're being very selective because we need the players that can help us get there. This is not about increasing the size of the company. This is about adding the people that match culturally and in production with the rest of the team to get us there. And their job is just to keep their goals in line. So we do have players in the team that have been doing this longer, and they are sort of I don't want to say overseeing because it's not an official title for them, but they do help those that they see they are struggling, and check on them.
Kind of like mentoring.
Kind of like mentoring, but without the title. It's just how they do it. Mm-hmm. It's just how they are. Like, hey, I see so-and-so is falling behind on their 66-day challenge. I'm going to be their accountability partner so that I can make sure that they get there. Or so-and-so wants to do better in social media, and I'm building my social media platform. I'm going to talk to them and train them, so it doesn't all fall behind on just the marketing department. They themselves sit with each other to help each other through whatever they see the other player is struggling with.
So you're a visionary person and always trying to innovate. Where's your head at looking at 3 to 5 years? Like, what has your eye, like what's catching your eye right now, or where are you looking at?
So, well, I think when I first opened the company, the fad and the trend was, and you were all the rage if you had a TC, right? So hire a transaction coordinator, hire someone that can support the agents on drafting their commission bills and getting the water readings, and that never existed when I went into the industry. I did everything myself, and then we hired TCs, right? Then I saw that curve go from the most valuable player in a team was no longer the TC, but it went into a social media marketing person. So someone that could create property websites, someone that could create the brochures and take that off the plate of the agents. Now in 2023, the most valuable player, in my opinion, is going to be, there's two, and I think it's a content creator with a videographer like background, or a videographer in that content creator, and a copywriter. I think that's where we're heading. I think if when I grow the company, that probably is going to be the next role that I'm going to hire for. It's going to be, and I know right now we're all talking about ChatGPT and all of this, but I think that video is here to stay, and I think it's almost impossible for real estate agents right now to jump into video because of the content creation part of scripts. And I know that because I'm doing it myself. And because I'm doing it myself and I know how much work it is, right?
It's hard.
I can't imagine it. Do we want the agents to be out in the field networking with their communities, knowing how to price homes, knowing how to negotiate contracts, and really drive the sales department? Then we need to take that off their plate. That's the next thing. And if we're all saying video is where it's at, which I believe is where it's at, then how are we going to support them? So for us, we created a media room last year, and we invested in the equipment and the lighting and the cameras and everything else. Obviously, we partner with your company, and you manage our YouTube channel and help us with. I have no idea how to position the videos correctly and do the retargeting ads on Google, and that's what you guys do best. So I outsourced that department to you. You're down in Florida, but I consider you to be part of our company because you take care of that for us. But we still need a copywriter because we still need, and I think that's where it's at. I think the company that can create that full service where they can help you either shoot or edit video, optimize video, manage, dice it up and manage the YouTube shorts and the reels and all that, but also creates the content so that the agents, all they have to do is maybe revise it to their personality or to their own knowledge, but it just has to be a little bit easier because the volume of content that we have to create, if you also have to do your job as a sales agent, it's impossible.
Yeah.
It's impossible.
And it's extremely tough trying to do it all, and trying to keep up with scripts, then you have to go shoot and film. So it definitely makes a lot of sense to get as much support there. So I was curious, let's say you had an extra $4,000 to $5,000 a month and you're just like, I'm going to hire one of those people right now. Which one would you say in a heartbeat?
A copywriter.
Copywriter? How come?
Because we at least at our company, we strive for really good marketing. And you can have really good marketing without really good copywriting. And I'm talking marketing that blows your socks off. I'm talking postcard campaigns that people snap with their phones and text us and they say, wow, this is, and that they convert for us. Mm-hmm. We're talking about ads with CTAs and subject lines that convert. We're talking about email marketing campaigns that take a long time to write because we're not purchasing them, boilerplate that 12 other companies are using. They're created in-house, but you know who is brilliant at this is 1000 Watt. If you've ever read their emails, there is no one email that they send that I don't read. They're so easy to digest, but also you can feel their personality. And to be able to write at that level, you need to have a copywriter.
Yeah.
Even a content creator. I have an amazing content creator at the company. It's a different set of skills. Yep. And a sales agent, we can't ask them to do that. We can't ask a sales agent to write their own scripts or their own, even their own post. It just takes a long time to learn how to write the language for every platform.
Yeah, that's true. And when you think about it like that, and you think about all the different areas that you write, from like direct mail to online ads to email to listings to just social media posts, there's a lot of potential writing that could be done.
Like right now, we're building the website, right? Mm-hmm. You know how much copywriting is going into this? Every single section has to have a title, to a picture, to a description, a lot. So I think eventually, listen, I'm glad to see real estate move into the direction on how corporate America is run. When I got into the industry, it was the real estate agent doing it all. We took the pictures, we did the brochures. Yes, we didn't have Zillows and Realtor.coms. We didn't have social media, but we had Craigslist. We even had Facebook. Now I'm dating myself, but we used to put houses on Facebook. No Facebook. eBay. Yes. This is how far back, right? Now we have departments, and that's how it should be run. Yep. Because that's how, you go to even a pharmaceutical salesperson that's doing the cold calling to the doctor. They have a inside salesperson that sets the appointment, and they have a service person that follows up. Like every corporate America company has someone that backs them up. An attorney has a paralegal. A doctor has a medical assistant. Realtors were the only people that were supposed to just do it all, and that's insane. And if you're in 2023 still not getting that you need to have a support team behind you, you just won't make it, or you won't have a life.
Yep. So do you think it's the race to build the best support team for the agent?
Yes, I do. And agents should be wanting to work for, let's be done with the splits conversation. It drives me nuts.
It drives
me nuts. Let's just be smart business women and businessmen here. So in any given year, take 2022 or 2021, or maybe actually do the last 5 years or the last 3 years, and figure out how much money you paid into the company you work for. It's that simple, because you did have a split, so you know how much money you paid in. And then figure out for that number, if you paid 80,000 in, or 120 in, or 50,000 in, or 25 in, what did they give you? So in my opinion, if I'm paying you $50,000, I hope out of that $50,000, you've paid for all my marketing. I didn't have to write a single commission bill myself. I didn't have to put the signs out front myself. I didn't have to photograph anything or spend money on photographing anything. You created beautiful brochures for me, property websites for me. I mean, that money has to pay for something. The money is not just so that you can work for the company. The money is so that you get something in return. And it's not the name of the company, because the name of the business is your name. It's not the name of the company. You are the brand. You are the business. So figure out what it is that you're getting for the money you're paying in. And if you're not getting much and you're putting in 50 and you're also having to spend another 50 in expenses to market yourself, then go and find a company that says, I have marketing, I have operations, I have advertising, I have content creation, I have a bundle. This is what the bundle includes. You're gonna pay me 50 and I'm gonna give you 25 back. And that's how it should be.
I agree. And I just want to first thank you for coming on, and your story is very compelling, and just researching it, learning it, and then hearing you say it, seeing that, and then not just seeing, you don't just talk about service, you don't just talk about innovation, you actually act in that, which I think is huge. So I just want to thank you for today and coming on.
Thank you for having me. This was a lot of fun. I know I sound like I'm really agitated when I talk because I get so passionate. My voice